Hello, everybody. Take two. As I said, this happens when you're streaming, unfortunately, and a little bit of a dud stream there, so apologies for that. But we are back with your instant match review. And as I said, listen, it wasn't a classic with Leeds United. It wasn't a classic at all, unfortunately. But we got the win, and that is the big thing. That has always been the big thing in the Premier League. It's getting the first win on the board in a season where it's going to be difficult to get any wins on the board. You know, we're all coming into this and we're saying, look, this, that, and the other, we're going to get this position, we're going to get that position. But at the end of the day, guys, it's all about initially getting rid of that relegation, mindset. So it's getting 40 points on the board as quickly as possible. And how did I feel the game went? Well, the game for me was topsy-turvy. I don't think Leeds properly got into the stride until sort of the second half. And we had a little bit of a spell, which was great. God, was I convinced throughout the game? No, not at all. Individual performances weren't amazing. We couldn't really keep the ball, which was frustrating the absolute life out of me. But listen, we've got the win. It's our first Premier League win in 16 years. In 16 years, it's our first Premier League win. So it's massive. It is absolutely massive. Leeds off the board. West Brom are not off the board. Fulham are not off the board. Fulham have shipped, 7 goals in 2 games. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Our defence hasn't been great. But at the same time, we've got a 0 goal difference now, where I believe West Brom have got a -2 and Fulham have got a -6. Sorry, so it's on a different level. I believe Fulham will be -5 actually. It'll be -5 obviously. But it is. Oh God, I think it's the depth. The depth is a worry. The depth is always going to be a worry because Leeds. I think we need more coming off the bench. I think Meslier needs a second keeper to get him through this period. I think it's obviously going to be a tough period against all these top sides who've got top forwards going forward. But naturally, we need a lot more. We need a lot more for me, and I think that's going to be the thing I've taken away from today. 4-1, you were plain sailing, weren't you? You were happy. But let's just reverse a little bit. So we'll talk about the first goal in terms of Mitrovic. For me, it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a penalty at all. I'm hearing the pundits saying it was a dead cert. I don't know what dead certs they've been talking or looking at, but that wasn't a dead cert at all. For me, it was Joe Bryan. He knew that Robin was pulling his feet out, as in he pulled away from the challenge. Joe Bryan, the biggest indicator for me is he didn't even appeal. Went down on his knees, got back up, was trotting back. I believe it was Anthony Taylor, was so fixated on the fact it was a penalty, he didn't even go to VAR, didn't consult VAR. And I presume VAR weren't reporting anything in his head. No chance of penalty. Not having it. That was not a penalty. The only contact was Joe Bryan sort of flailing the leg out. That touched Koch because we knew that obviously Koch was pulling out of the tackle. But aside from that, no chance. No way was that a penalty. So that's not even me with my tinted glasses on. I thought, don't get me wrong, I don't even think the Fulham one was a massive penalty. I thought it was soft, but it was more of a penalty than the Robin one. Definitely, there's a hand in the back. Which, I mean, is that straight red? I mean, you could argue that's a straight red. Last man pushing the back. Bamford's going to score, denying him a goal scoring opportunity. Letter of the law. It's a sending off. But obviously, for me, Joe Bryan should have got booked for that first one, and it shouldn't have been a penalty. But the penalty was given. Fulham went. Fulham, obviously, they equalised. But at the same time, I thought we were okay. I thought Costa was brilliant. And this is what I was saying to you guys last season about Helder Costa. Costa's getting better and better, and he's suited to his level now. And, that's what, is it 3 goals in 2 games? I believe, is he Leeds' top scorer now? But, I thought he was absolutely brilliant today. And he's found his level. I think he's brilliant. His little touches. And, very, very, very interesting in terms of development for Helder Costa. But I think his transition to the top league has been absolutely astronomical. I think he's been brilliant in the 2 games. So how did Robin play? I know that's going to be a discussion. Listen, he shouldn't have dived in for the penalty. For their penalty, he shouldn't have dived in. He did, and he made that decision. He sort of jolted, then he dived in. I don't think he should have dived in. When you dive in, the referee has to make a decision. You give the referee a decision to make. Now, he didn't need to do that. He could have held off, but Joe Bryan was going round him anyway. So what Joe Bryan would have done is crossed the ball in, and Mitrovic was in there. Who knows if he'd have been able to jolt in front of his man. But for me, he did okay, Robin. I think he won a fair few of his aerial duels. You're playing against Alexander Mitrovic. I said this earlier on as well. It's going to be one of the most difficult centre forwards that he faces this season because Mitrovic poses a different threat. He was physical. He was an enforcer. He's powerful in the air. You forget when Ben White played against Mitrovic, he already had a taste of Mitrovic straight away. Robin was thrown in against him today, not really knowing. I'm sure he knew a lot about him. He'd done his research, but knowing about him and playing against him are two different things. But I thought overall Robin did well. It's not looking good that he's conceded that we've conceded 3 penalties in 2 games. That's not great. I'm not convinced that was a penalty. I'm not. It's my personal opinion that for me wasn't a penalty. I think, as I said, the Bamford one was soft, but it was a penalty because there was contact. I think Joe Bryan flails his leg out, tries to get contact on Robin because he knows Robin's pulled out, and that's the only contact that was made in the foul. So for me, that was not a penalty. Now, once again, we're talking about the key players, but obviously Leeds went 2-1 up, and the penalty was given. Click rolls it into the back of the net. Brilliant penalty by Click. We saw a similar one against Barnsley. And then it sort of it got great for Leeds. 3rd, 4th went in. Some brilliant finishes. Bamford, I thought, again, was excellent. Last week was excellent. And as I always say, proves people like me and other people massively wrong at this moment in time with his contribution and how good he's been at the minute. And I consistently keep saying this to people who watch the channel. We lose something when he goes off the pitch. I realised that towards the back end of last season. And it's getting more and more obvious now. When he comes off, we stop pressing from the front. And it does change a little bit. But obviously went in at halftime 2-1, probably a little bit undeserved. I thought Fulham were the better team, as they were at Ellen Road last time. It was interesting with Fulham because players like Kenny Tete were very good at right back. I thought he did a real job on Harrison and Guisa in the midfield. I thought was brilliant for Fulham. But I thought Leeds did okay to match them. I don't think we won the midfield battle today, but I thought Calvin played well. Click grew into the game, definitely grew into the game, but Fulham were much better than last time we played them. You know, they were good going forward. They had they had an edge, and Leeds Leeds obviously did very, very well in terms of getting the victory, and that is the massive takeaway from today, guys. For me, it's the fact that we got that victory, but Helder Costa, Bamford working excellently with each other, and obviously getting that 4th goal, and I thought Leeds were really good value at 4-1. My brother actually said to me, don't forget what happened at Cardiff. And I just had that in my head for a little bit. And then Fulham started grabbing the ball a bit more. When Leeds stopped pressing high, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think we pressed as high in this game. I do not think we pressed as high. We looked tired. And you could tell that from Bamford's post-match chat. He said he was absolutely blowing, and he said the squad are going to be back to it fully in about 4 or 5 games' time, which is really interesting because you always think that Leeds are going to be, there from the off. But really interestingly, it didn't seem that way from Patrick's post-match. And he reckons that Leeds are going to get into it. But you could tell the press wasn't as high. And that was the massive difference for me. Fulham were pressing Leeds high, but Leeds looked fatigued for me. There wasn't as many players going forward. We were dropping deep quite a lot. And that was letting Fulham on. If you drop deep, naturally, the opposing team is going to be able to get a flavour of the ball, be able to dictate play. They've obviously got good players. And I felt we were allowing Fulham the ball a lot. And it was a little bit sloppy. It was a little bit sloppy in terms of giving the ball away. I felt particularly in the first half, we were very sloppy at giving the ball away. And we weren't winning our second balls. Now, for that 20-25 minute spell where we went 4-1 up, the second balls were massively being influenced. Leeds were brilliant. Go on. Get him! Sorry, Man United have just conceded against Palace. Get in there. Could be a great weekend. But yeah, I didn't feel we were winning the second balls. We did massively in the second half. And yeah, I just think that I said at the start of the game that Fulham were going to run out of energy against us. They didn't, and they were pressing a little bit higher for me. And it was a real coming of age for Leeds. Went 4-1 up. Decadova Reed scored. Could Meslier have done better? I don't know. Potentially, but it was a good strike. It was a very good strike across the keeper. Now, for me, the 3rd goal that went in, Meslier could have done better. But you look at the ball again, and the ball played in. The ball played in was very, very good. It was a very good ball in. Meslier didn't know whether or not to come or go. But I've said this from the start. Leeds need an experienced keeper alongside him. We have to get an experienced keeper alongside him. You can't just have someone like, Capriel or whoever it is just being that number 2. You need an experienced head who's going to be able to help him. He needs help in this division. He's only a kid. So for me, a keeper is a priority. It's an absolute priority. And hopefully the club get that one done. Obviously, I know the stipulations with Kiko. But for me, the fact that Fulham are able to change the team, bring quality on. We need to be able to bring quality on, especially in that cam role. Rodrigo, I thought he was okay, but I thought we lacked a lot of control in the midfield. Is that Rodrigo's natural position? Not for me. I see him as like sort of a shadow striker, but I don't know. It was a different game for Leeds. I thought we were better in the game against Liverpool. I thought we were much better, much better in the first game against Liverpool. I thought we had much more control. I thought we were good in the midfield. I thought defensively, believe it or not, against Liverpool, I thought we were better. Obviously, Liverpool was just 4 set pieces, but there was a couple of times where they were getting through our lines, breaking through the lines, which we didn't see a lot of last year. But do we need to shore up at the back? Yeah, 100%. Don't get me wrong, because we're going to be playing better teams with respect to Fulham each and every week. We are going to be playing better teams. But once again, Leeds were clinical, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing in terms of Leeds being clinical. I think last season we're all getting upset about being clinical, and this season we've been brilliant with regards to that. We've been very, very good in terms of shots on goal and converting. I know it's only been 2 games, but out of the promotion teams, guys, we are the ones first off the mark. We're in the top 10. So you've got to see that as a positive. And for me, we'll go on to better things. I think we're going to get into our fitness a lot further down the line. Maybe 4 or 5 games, you're going to see our fitness. But it was imperative we won today. If we'd have dropped points today, I'd have been worried about our mentality. I'd have been worried about the confidence of the team. I really would. We went out, we scored 4 goals. The 3 conceded. For me, it wasn't a penalty for Fulham, as I keep saying, so it should have been 2. But there are definitely things to work on. I don't think Bielsa seemed happy in his post-match, so it's going to be interesting what they iron out. We've obviously got Sheffield United next week, which is going to be a massive game, a Yorkshire derby. We know going to Bramall Lane's never easy, but the last time we went to Bramall Lane, we won and kept a clean sheet. So it's going to be interesting what transfer developments happen in terms of now and then. Are Leeds going to do anything in the window? Even if someone does come in, I don't think that it's going to be a case of Leeds playing them at the weekend. I don't think that's going to happen. But listen, guys, a win is a win. A win is a win. It's a massive thing for Leeds United. Our first win in 16 years. We're in the top 10. Fulham haven't won yet. West Brom haven't won yet. Okay, we got Sheffield United, for me, a winnable game next week. And then we've got Wolves as well, which is also a winnable game. You'd expect us to get something from both. But yeah, the defence is a negative for me. The defence is a negative, but we are brilliant going forward at the minute. We're brilliant going forward. We just need, the press needs to carry on, or it needs to get better for me. And that's all fitness, that's fatigue, that's stamina. But the press needs to improve and the defence needs to improve. And we need to bring in some bodies. I thought, seems to be comments as well saying the table doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it doesn't, but you don't want to be rock bottom, do you? So, I mean, the table does mean something, because I think right now, if you rock bottom, confidence is an issue. Confidence is a big issue if you rock bottom and you've shipped as many goals as, let's say, a West Bromwich Albion have. So, Mick Wynn saying here, thank you for your super chat, Mick Wynn. Bamford proving me wrong. Didn't think he was Premier. Yeah, exactly. He's proved me wrong as well, Mick. I think he's been absolutely brilliant this season so far. And he was to the end of last season. And as I will constantly say on these things, when he goes off, we lose something. We do. It's a press from the front. It's a nuisance. You look what he did to Van Dijk. Van Dijk made so many unforced errors last weekend, and we're all laughing, weren't we? Van Dijk versus Bamford. Oh God, Bamford's not going to get a shot. Bamford was unnerving him and Gomez throughout that entire game, and he was doing the same against Hector today. Hector, arguably one of the best centre backs in the Championship last year, and on Chelsea books for years. So. Yeah, Dennis Odoi, I thought was good for them. Listen, Fulham were very changed in this game, and I thought Fulham were good. Genuinely. I thought they played really well. They were much better than last time. Leeds, we weren't at our best at all. I thought we weren't really out of second or third gear, and I think it's going to be one of those where hopefully we're going to see Leeds get into 4th, 5th, even 6th gear. Against Sheffield United and Wolves, because we're going to have to be. The Premier League's the quality. Listen, there's so many more games in the Championship, but there's less quality. In the Premier League, there's quality everywhere. So you can't have a week off. You cannot have a week off. And it was so important that we won this week. So important. Next week's going to be a very, very tough game. A very, very tough game. But we've seen a lot of positives, especially Leeds going forward. And I think we'll genuinely be okay, guys. If you haven't watched this video from the start, you can always rewatch it. We'll have more content coming out for you over the weekend as well. I hope you appreciate the effort we're putting here at One Leeds Fan Channel. Have a great rest of the evening. Get yourself a beer or get yourself a soda if you're not into the old beer. And listen, we're off the mark. We've got to win. Get in there. Guys, have a good one. I'll see you in a bit.